Every child is different. Every mom is different. You just like give them what they need, meet them where they're at. Lean in on, what you know. You're a great mom. You don't need to compare. Even if it's school or grades, I've really learned that as a mom. Like, give yourself grace and like meet your kids at where they're at.
I'm Erica.
And I'm Amory.
This is Leaning Into Being, the show that allows you to be your all so you can give your all.
Brought to you by Hello Mamas and Hey Mama. Erica, I'm so excited for today's guest. We're going to have Shalice Noel on. Shalice has been a member of the Hey Mama community from the very beginning. She is just an incredibly kind and sweet woman. She also is balancing a really hectic career. She has a thriving social media account, a fashion brand. She also has 5 kids.
5 kids. The juggle must truly be real in her household. I can't even imagine the amount of food she goes through every week. And you're right, she's an incredibly ambitious woman and mother. And I'm also want to know what she does for herself, how she takes moments of self-care and kind of stays grounded with all of those things that she has going on.
I have a lot of questions for her, actually. I want to know, how did she and her husband manage to keep their relationship alive with 5 kids? How does she get out the door in the morning? And how is she managing to maintain these other thriving careers with 5 kids? So I'm excited to bring Shalice on.
So Shalice, people often wonder how you do it all. How do you manage the balance between your career and motherhood?
Yeah, I like this question. I get a lot. And I would say, number one, there are seasons. So there are really busy work seasons that I have to delegate and I have to communicate. So those 2 things, I have to tell my family, hey guys, heads up, this is my busy season. These are the expectations. So I will be not here for dinner. I won't be here for the soccer practice, but XYZ is going to pick you up, and really setting the expectations to be realistic, right? Because we're not octopuses. Like, we can only do so much. And I just feel like we moms are really hard on ourselves. And I've had to really set realistic goals and just like, okay, Shalice, you're doing good. You fed your 5-year-old breakfast and he ate it. Like, woo, like, we're doing good. I had to like, you're doing good. This is good. And even with my husband in the hospital right now, I'm like, okay, I curled my hair today. Like, I feel good. I got that email out. I made sure the invoices set. Like, realistic goals wherever you are in your season of life. I think some women will say, I'm so burnt out. And it's like, well, maybe you're doing too much and your expectations are too high. And I can't, be at the soccer field, and I can't be at my daughter's poetry reading, and I can't, record the podcast all at the same time, right? So it's like I have to communicate with my family and also business, like, hey, this is a busy season, this is not. And I feel like if you know there's seasons for it, you don't feel guilty.
The realistic expectations, that it is so true. And it's even when you have really big goals, if you can break them down into more like manageable pieces where it is realistic that you can see yourself getting to the next thing, then it doesn't seem like it's so overwhelming. And speaking of overwhelming, I'm trying to think about your day with 5 kids. Can you just walk us through a little bit? What is a regular, I don't even know if there is a regular day, but a typical day in your life?
Yeah. So my kids go to hybrid school, so it's not like every day. So it's like 2 days a week. So it's like, we have some days that look like this, some days look like that. It's never like super quiet. So I like to wake up early in the morning to have that quiet space. And I write down like my gratitude list, and I have my coffee. I look forward to it every morning. And just having that me time, don't feel guilty about it. It's like, even if it's like, it might mean a hot bath in the morning before all the craziness, right? And so I try to have me time in the morning. And then usually my youngest wakes up first, and I make like a lot of eggs for all of them because I'm all about like the protein, like get the protein, okay? And so it's like breakfast, and sometimes it's a little homework. And on school days, it's a little bit of rush, right? So we're like, my little tip is like lay everything out the night before. And so like backpacks and, make sure everything, whether you need to Instacart or DoorDash, but I make sure like we have a bunch of sausage and egg McMuffin. Like I just have all the things ready. So everything's ready to go in the morning. So breakfast goes smoothly. And because I just leave them breakfast, if they don't eat, then they're like cranky and, the teacher's calling me. So I really think having things laid out the night before, we do breakfast, homework, whatever it takes, and then we get out the door and drop them off, and then I'm able to catch up on work and emails and videos, recording, whatever I need to do, and then there's pickup and there's homework. And dinner, I do a lot of frozen right now, so it's kind of a failure, but you know what? It's like the seasons, right? So we're in a busier season with my husband even not home right now. So I've set expectations lower, so everything is not GF, like organic. It's just they ate tonight, so we're good. We're good.
Sometimes that's the win, right? Just saying they ate.
Well, I mean, that's definitely a lot to juggle. And we always say the juggle is real here at Hello Mamas and Hey Mamas. So what is your support system like?
I think it's really important. We don't have family in the area, so I've had to lean in on, I have friends at kids' school, and they've been huge, just a huge resource. These women have careers, and they're busy as heck. They've been able to give me a hug or, advice. I'm like, hey, this is a really busy season. I'm trying to juggle XYZ. And, we help each other out with carpool. And since moving, like Amory said, we're farther from our older community. So we're like an hour from our older community. So we've had to like readjust, right? And that's what makes me really grateful for the kids' school, because it's been a huge community for our family.
Absolutely. And talking about community and support as an OG, you literally have been with us since the very beginning, OG Hey Mama member. Can you just share like what the community has been like for you?
Gosh, I love those events. Like you used to have a ton in LA, and I would bring all my little kids, and I remember Super Goop, and I loved meeting other women who were so real. They were like, nope, we don't have it like all put together, right? It's not perfect. And I remember just having some conversations at some of the Hey Mama events and being so encouraged that they were killing it as boss women. I was always surprised what they were doing, what they were creating. And I think lean in on that network and the community. So I'm really grateful because it's like vetted out, tight, professional women getting together. It's kind of like, I wish I thought of it, really.
We're going to be coming to LA again for our Strong Like a Mama event on October 24th, and we would love to see you.
Awesome. Yeah, I would love to come.
We would love that. I mean, community is so important, and you're certainly juggling a lot at home. How do you balance your personal life with your professional life and your ambitions with motherhood?
I think because what I do is really intermeshed with personal and professional. I do think, number one, boundaries. So there are times when I have to shut everything off and it just doesn't feel right. Like I don't, things are imbalanced, or, life isn't always like black and white and perfect. And you kind of have to be in the right place for what I do, and like sharing and being available to me, to your community. And it's social media, right? It's a whole other animal, and they don't always know what's going on behind the lens, right? There's a lot going on. And so I think boundaries are really important. So knowing and giving yourself like breaks and saying, I'm not feeling it right now. I'm going to take some headspace. I'm going to turn everything off. And I've had to do that a couple times just to clear my head. And that does help just like reset me creatively and just take a break from even seeing what I'm following, right? It's just like, all right, I'm turning everything off. It's a reset. I'm going out in nature, and I'm being with my kids. And I think that's kind of helped me, if that answers your question.
It really does. Thank you.
And so you just touched on this. What is it like for you kind of being in the public eye with your family and having to create content all the time? Can you just share a little bit about that, what it's like for you? How do you do it?
So there's challenges, right? There's challenges, but I also think it's awesome for my kids to see that I'm like working my butt off, right? And so it's like they don't take anything for granted. They see mom is working and doing what she loves, and I think that makes kids happy. And I also share with them, like, all right, do you guys want to be a part of this? The brand I'll state expectations, like, hey, the brand would love to see you guys in this couch shot, and I never like pressure them. Like, you have to be it. I ask them, there's expectations, and I pay them if they're in it, so it's kind of like there's a lot going on behind the scenes, but I also like to collaborate with them. Like, what do you guys think what do you think is a creative way to show this? And, because I like to see they're creative too. My husband and I are very creative, and we gave birth to like 5 very different and creative kids. So that's kind of the fun part of it, doing this for 11, almost 12 years and having my kids involved. Like Amory have seen, like, my kids have always been involved, but as they've gotten older, I'm kind of like, well, you don't have to be in it. Like, I don't want to force them, but setting expectations, and, there's always something that goes wrong, and, you got to reshoot, and, boxes at the gate. And so it's, it gets complicated, but it's very fun. At the end of the day, I'm very blessed, and I love what I do. And I think, like I said, it makes kids happy. Like, I'd never had a mom that worked, so it's kind of like I'm trying something new, right? But I also want to make sure there's no pressure and make it fun.
I love that you're creating a space for your kids to have a voice, right? As to whether or not, and the boundaries. So on that, like, how do you stay true to your personal and professional goals, which you're certainly doing that as a mother in your role? How do you do that for yourself?
I think, going back to the expectations and setting those realistic, there's things I want to be doing with my brand right now, and say I'm not there yet, or I'm not building it right now because my husband's in hospital. So it's like, you have to know when to press pause, so setting these are my 5-year goals. These are my 10-year goals. That is awesome. Make those lists, but be okay with pressing pause, pressing reset, pressing pause. It doesn't mean that, oh, I'm just throwing this paper away and I'm not going to get to that. No, it's still there. So communicate it, write it down, believe in it, but also know, like, I'm going to press pause on this right now because I need to keep myself healthy, my kids healthy, mentally, physically. Right now, I'm just focusing a lot on self-care. And, I do have a couple campaigns I'm just shooting this weekend, and I'm like, well, the timing isn't perfect, but I'm thankful for the distraction, right? But after this, I'm going to be going back to my lymphatic drainage massage lady who just detoxes all my stress and everything. But just knowing, like, it's okay to pause some goals at the moment to keep yourself really healthy.
And you just talked about lymphatic drainage, so it just prompted me to ask you, because you are in a stressful situation right now. Your partner is in the hospital. How do you de-stress? You've also got a lot of people depending on you. What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I really like hot baths. Like I said, I like to take a moment by myself. I have to tell the kids, like, you know what? I'm locking my door. Like, I'm just going to need a moment, just know, because I have 5 and I have 1 that's always like, ma, 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 ma. And I need peace out. Like, I need a moment because the noise, it gets us to be a lot. And so, yeah, a friend of mine was like, Shalice, give yourself a lot of grace. You're doing a lot. And Reed and I do a lot. We're landlords. We just like do a lot, right? So I have to really put a timeout. The hot baths, I schedule the massages. I do like one at least every 4 weeks. And that is just so medicinal. And I feel really recharged after that. But on the daily, it might mean, classical music in the car. It might mean a podcast. It might mean just locking the door and being like, I love you guys so much, but I really need a timeout. And I think the last item is I lean on my older kids. I lean in on them. And they're older. They can understand just emotional weights. So like my 5-year-old, he gets like, dad is sick. He's not coming home right now, right? But like my older kids like can understand more. And so I kind of leaned in on them like, this is what I'm feeling. And I'm not perfect. I don't know all the answers. I'm scared. And, I've cried and they've cried. And like, we can work through this together. We can pray together. So I guess that's how I approach it. Self-care is like leaning in, knowing when to shut the door, turn on the classical music, the candles, the hot bath, all the things, whatever like speaks to you.
I want to call out, you said this and it like stuck with me, mom timeout, like mom's timeout.
Yeah.
Instead of being sent to someone else's room, like we're sending ourselves to our room.
Yeah.
I'm in timeout. Like, leave me alone.
Mom's in timeout.
I mean, that definitely sounds like it's keeping you grounded, and having those special moments is so important. And I'm sure great lessons for your kids too. How do you handle in situations, and you're certainly going through a big one now, the self-doubt?
I think journaling helps that, and just getting out some thoughts. And also just like taking some thoughts captive, because I think our minds are trained to kind of to go to worst case scenario, and that's not a great place to be. I'll just be honest. Yesterday, I was like feeling sorry for myself, and I was kind of punching the wind. Like, all right, this is not cool. Like, we had to cancel family vacation. My husband's birthday was spent in the hospital. I had to fight security to get my kids up there just to like see him. We just wanted to bring up balloons and cards, right? And so I think self-doubt is just par for the game, par for the course. You're human, right? But I think also acknowledge it and set a gratitude list. And that's what I had to do. It was like I was at a fork in the road last night. I had a bad attitude. And I started to think about, I'm so glad this awesome hospital is 15 minutes from my house. I'm so glad he's getting really good care. I'm so glad my kids are stepping up to the plate. My 16-year-old is cleaning the kitchen. Just like writing down some things that are really great news. Like the sun is out and the sun makes me happy. And not saying, oh, look what we missed. Look what he's not here for. Look what could happen to him. And I don't know what I'm going to do. So really setting that gratitude list, because of course I've gone down that bad road and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, bah! But that doesn't do any favors for anyone. And so I've really had to, in the Bible, there's that verse about take every thought captive. And I've had to like, okay, Shalice, don't go there. Don't go there. What are you thankful for? And so the gratitude list has been a game changer.
When you were saying that, it just was making the hair stand up on my arm, because that was so powerful for me during my healing and recovering. The gratitude list, whenever I started to feel crappy and kind of like, woe is me, then I'd be like, okay, but I have an amazing family. And and just listing out, and even the little things, like I do this even now when I wake up in the morning and I'm like, okay, I'm so grateful that I woke up and I feel good this morning. And I'm like, that's the most important thing. And like, or even like the little things. I'm like, I'm so grateful that my youngest got out of bed this morning without throwing something at me. I mean, all the little things, they start to shift your mindset and your experience, even when you're going through really hard things like you're going through. So thank you for sharing that. I'm going to shift the tone a little bit, because I am curious, and we love to ask this of people, what is your definition of success for you? And I always love to ask this at different times in people's lives, because it changes so drastically as we go through these different phases of our life. What does success mean for you right now?
It means time. It means freedom of time. And that's what's changed. It's not a vacation. It's not a car. It's not a house. It is freedom of time. Freedom to be with my kids and say, let's go do this. Let's go to the beach on a Friday. I feel like that's so big to me. And I'm grateful for what I do and the flexibility that I can rearrange my schedules to accommodate that kind of lifestyle. That's, I feel like, really important. And I feel like that's been a generational shift in our culture too. People are realizing like it's not all material. It is time with, like you mentioned, your loved ones. And like, what a blessing. I have 4 kids who love me, who they love their dad. You know, I have a supportive husband. That's gold to me.
I love that. So on that, what are you currently working on that's exciting for you?
Yeah, I think we have like some home projects coming up that are really exciting. I just need my architect husband out of the hospital. We have some home projects, and I'm working on a lot of projects right now. So I'm just kind of trying to rearrange my my schedule so I can accommodate that right now with fashion and home. So more to come on that. And then our brand, Shalice Noel, we make the t-shirts in LA. We want to do more graphic tees. Those have done really well for us. So that's really fun. I have a lot of personal things going on right now. So I kind of have a couple of things like the t-shirts on hold so we can attend to that. But it's exciting things, you know? So I'm grateful, and I'm excited to share more with my community.
Super excited to hear when you can.
I know. I can't wait to hear more.
On that, I would love to know what has been the best advice you've ever received as a mom.
I think I touched on this earlier, but give yourself grace and don't compare yourself to other mothers. I remember when my first was potty training, and I was comparing her potty training experience to theirs. And I remember even my sister called and said, I can't believe she's not potty trained yet. And I was like, oh, I'm such a failure. Like, your first is, someone even told me it takes longer. And I think it was 3 years old. And I sort of felt like a failure as a mom. And she finally just got it. And she was fine. And we could put away the pull-ups. And I kind of learned from that after, my 5th kid was, every child is different. Every mom is different. You just like give them what they need, meet them where they're at. So-and-so's son or daughter is way ahead. It's like, who cares? Who cares at the end of the day? It doesn't matter if they potty train at 2 or 3. And if someone's telling you or bragging about that, like maybe they're not a friend, So just lean in on, what you're a great mom. You don't need to compare, even if it's school or grades, or I really learned that as a mom, like give yourself grace and like meet your kids where they're at. Like she learned where she needed to learn. I was a late bloomer. Like I didn't read till later. It took me a while. Right. So, and my mom was like, that's just fine. We just kind of met you where you're at. You took your time and, don't compare. I think that's kind of what I've learned after the 5th kid. Just really.
And then she said, after the 5th kid, I mean, it's true. Eventually, all kids stop wearing diapers and everyone learns to read, right?
Right.
It doesn't come up later in life. And so what age did you learn how to read? It's not a thing.
I know. What was it? I think it was 8. Like, it was kind of embarrassing. It took me a while. And I'm actually a better speller than my husband. I know Reed's going to listen to this.
But all her own time.
It took me a while, but I have really good phonics. So I was embarrassed at the time, right? I was so embarrassed. I was such a late bloomer.
As a mom of 5, and you've been through 4 moves and working with your husband, do you have any relationship tips for us on how do you maintain a great relationship with all these different things going on?
We definitely had our share of just such intense moments and stress. that we're like, why did we do this to ourselves? Why? They say moving is right up there with like the top 10 most stressful life changes, you know, up there with death even. And I think number one, he's my friend. And so he's not only my partner in life, husband, but he's my friend. And so just remember that. And I think when you can't find something and he did something annoying, remember your friends. And because that always happens, right? Like, did you throw that away? That was mine. You know, it can get so intense so fast. And we definitely had so many intense moments with cross-country moves and things lost and trucks not arriving. And just, I could probably write a book on every move, really. It would just be a chapter, every chapter. But also knowing that he's my friend and he and I, half and half, you know, and remembering I love this dude and just take it down a notch. I think dates are important. And I've had to tell the kids, like, Dad and I just need to go to Home Depot. You know, it's like a date, you know, it's like whatever that looks like. You know, it might not be a beautiful restaurant, you know, overlooking the city, which we have done, but on the day in, day out, it sometimes just looks like a little car ride and leaving the kids at home, you know, with my 16-year-old and having those regular dates and then just remembering the friendship that brought us together in the beginning.
It's so true. It's such a good lesson too, that being a friend and taking them where they're at and meeting them where they're at, and then adding all of those important values. Okay, well, we're kind of getting to, we could talk about this for hours. We could have conversation with you all day long, but I know you have a busy schedule, and I'd love to know, what's that one time or moment that you can't believe you survived and or still laugh about today?
Well, I think I'm in a really intense moment right now that it just had me, we kind of talked about this earlier, but like a painful moment right now. And I was going to say my moves, but honestly, it's just right now. It's been really hard. And I'm like, we're almost there. He's almost home. And I'm kind of like, wow, that was crazy. You know, we have like a nearby fire here last night. And the guy dropped off 6 boxes that broke our gate. And my daughter needs stuff from Staples for her project, and we're out of eggs, and I need to send over some school documents. It's just like this, everything's kind of happening at once that I'm like, I know I'm going to look back at like, amazing. We did great. We did great. Because you need to just give yourself a round of applause, because some days are just like, can one more ball fall on me? I don't know. Like, it just feels like too much. And I'm in it right now, honestly. And I have to wake up. Good job. You woke up, you washed your face. You know, we made breakfast. So I just take down slow wins. I'm a list taker. I like to write down things and cross them off. Even if I just did them, drink coffee, cross it off, you know. And I have looked back even on day one, because this is like a week that we've been in this intense period. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that day one was horrible. We were in the ER for like 12 hours. And I look back and I'm like, we're so strong. You know, sometimes I leave him at the hospital and I cry in the car on the way back. And I'm looking back and I'm like, good job, Shalice. You did really well. You know, and it's kind of like you have to stop and say, you're doing good. And I know we're going to look back at like, oh gosh, that was so nice. The school dropped off meals. It's so nice that we got through that. And like, Dad did well. And it's been an awesome teachable moment in helping us reanalyze our marriage, reevaluating and putting pause on some things and leaning in on other things, and really grateful for our family. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. But I do think God gives us these like painful moments. It's like a microphone. We're supposed to learn something. And I had moments where I'm like, all right, like I need to learn this thing. And it's sometimes patience, it sometimes means I need to be just like alone, read my Bible more, and just filling up my cup and not leaning on myself. And so that's the moment we're in right now. And I am so grateful for where we're at right now. And we're not at day one, right? Today is progress. And I'm thankful for the teachable moments.
And I'm looking forward to that moment when you are able to look back and be like, okay, wow, I don't know how I got through that moment, because we know that you will, and like how much of a big sigh of relief that will feel like for you.
Yeah, definitely. I will be crying tears of happiness when he walks through that door.
Yeah.
So,
well, we're sending you so much love and so much strength and countless blessings to you and your family. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing all of your incredible stories.
thanks so much for having me. And I just love Hey Mama and this huge network. So big love.
Thank you for listening to Leaning Into Being.
To get connected and join the Hello Mamas and Hey Mama community, visit hellomamas.co.
Let's connect, support, and grow together in this journey of motherhood.